This is quite possibly one of the darkest puzzle games I've ever played, and it's about time I shed some light on it.
Get rubbery! Limbo!
Recently, I uploaded some shorts all about creepy levels in video games that aren't part of the horror genre. One of the shorts is all about the Paramonian nests in Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, which led to more than one comment saying that people regard Abe's Odyssey as a horror game. Now, personally, while it certainly has its creepy vibes, I've never seen this as a horror game myself. It has elements of horror for sure, but it's definitely more of a puzzle game in my eyes. In any case, that got me thinking about another puzzle game that I would deem to belong to the horror genre, a short indie game called Limbo. I've considered talking about this before, but was always somewhat reluctant to. For one thing, its story is almost non-existent, and I feared that one or two of you may lose interest, as many of my game reviews are story-based. There is a semblance of a story, but much of it seems open to interpretation. First of all, if you're unfamiliar with this game, this is incredibly dark. The boy's death animations are often brutal. You will see him get sawn to shreds by buzzsaws, impaled on spikes, electrocuted, and crushed flat.
Seriously, if you like dying, is this the game for you?
Luckily, the checkpoints are very frequent, and divided into chapters, which is a huge relief. One of the major selling points of the game is its art style. It not only reminds me of Oddworld, but other stylish side-scrollers like Heart of Darkness.
On the surface it looks very simple, but it's not that black and white. Well, it is black and white, but I mean figuratively.
While simple to control, the puzzles in this game are fairly tough, and often require many attempts. This game is entirely monochromatic, with a grainy filter, and conveys a very brooding, ominous tone throughout, with its use of shadows and silhouettes. There's no doubt that this game's presentation is outstanding, and downright creepy. Although personally, I find the earlier parts of the game much more effective in an atmospheric sense, but we'll get to that later. First of all, what's the game about?
Well, your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, so according to the PlayStation Store description and any information I could find online, it's about a boy, this boy, who is searching for his sister, unaware of her fate. Yeah, considering how dangerous it is here, I would say don't get your hopes up. That's what you call a shishka boy.
Ah, good one.
The overall plot is simplistic, but there's all sorts of weird stuff going on in this game, and none of it is fully explained. You can push and pull objects, climb ropes and chains and swing from them, and hang from ledges, but that's just about it. You are very vulnerable, and there's a lot that can kill you. Oh, and you can also climb ladders, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah, in your face, Audrey. Little Miss I Can't Climb Ladders.
One thing that can get frustrating is that the boy has these floppy ragdoll physics. Sometimes it feels as though he doesn't move with as much force as he should, and it can make him feel a bit slow to respond.
Quit slacking, boy!
I'd say this was intentional though, so this isn't really a legitimate complaint about the game. After all, having a protagonist who's rather helpless and prone to human error has a huge impact on a horror game. Hell, if the controls were unrealistically slick, it wouldn't feel nearly as intense. One mistake I often make is that I can be a little too trigger happy with the jump button. I tend to hold the X button for too long, and sometimes find myself jumping to my own death. Again, this isn't really a criticism of the game, but a criticism of myself, I guess. Hence the title Limbo. It seems like we're in some kind of purgatory. Complete with bear traps, unknown shadowy figures who seem hell-bent on killing you, and of course...
You guessed it, it's another eight-legged freak.
Throughout the early stages, this spider pursues you. It's a really intense opening. Particularly this part when the spider ensnares you in its web, and you have to break free. The way the spider is dealt with here is like no other game I've played. It feels like there's no escape and you're caught between a rock and a hard place. Or in this case, a rock and a giant spider, I guess. Speaking of which, the spider eventually comes back, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You have to be very precise in everything you do, and it's extremely trial and error. It's excruciating, but in a good way. You're probably gonna die a lot when you play this for the first time, but it also feels insanely rewarding when you just make it by the skin of your teeth. The sound effects are positively bone-chilling. There's a quiet ambience to much of the game, and whenever something kills you, the sound is often deeply unsettling and dissonant. Combined with the silhouetted graphic violence, it's disturbingly visceral. Speaking of which, the spider's eventual demise is pretty gruesome, as you have to literally pull its one remaining leg off. And then...
Well, you know I said we'd cross that bridge when we come to it? Well, you literally have to use its body as a bridge. Ew.
Bye-bye, Buggy.
Most of the puzzles in this game are full of close calls that really get the heart racing. Take this part for example. You need to use the ropes to raise the two weights. And then time it just right so you can squeeze underneath. Phew! What a tight squeeze. You were almost a boy sandwich.
And contrary to the title, you cannot limbo. I for one feel cheated.
Man, that is flagrant false advertising.
I love that the game provides subtle hints at what's to come. One of my favourite moments is towards the beginning, when you need to use a corpse to cross some water, at which moment it instantly becomes apparent why the corpse is there. See, these glowing worms burrow into these people's heads, and force them to walk in one direction, causing them to drown.
Hey, don't you want to take your shoes off before you go swimming?
During your travels, you also see some creatures eating the worms. So obviously when the inevitable happens and the worm burrows into your head, you know you've got to find some way to get these things to nab the worm. It's very clever, and also really creepy. When a worm burrows into your head, you have no choice but to walk the opposite way.
You might say the worm has turned.
When this happens, you cannot stop moving, only slow down and speed up. You only change direction when you enter the light. But of course, when you're burdened with having to walk in one direction, there's also a greater chance you'll be entering the light in a far darker sense.
Come to the light, boy.
Croaked.
And speaking of croaking, a little later in the game, you need to find a way to make it rain. To do so, you need to lure this frog thing to the big wheel and then activate the lever.
Tut tut, it looks like rain.
This causes a downpour that leads to a flood, with several of the puzzles focusing on finding ways to stay afloat to avoid the rising water. At one point, you need to survive the flood with a worm in your brain, which really adds an extra challenge.
Yeah, try to worm your way out of that one.
The earlier stages of the game are very sinister and mysterious, but the mysterious nature of it kinda gets lost eventually. Overall, the game is still very good and its puzzles are of a high standard, but after a short while, the ominous grassy wilderness gives way to more mechanical man-made structures that don't convey the same vibe to me. I'm a little conflicted about this change. It's not especially jarring as it transforms gradually. It conveys a sort of dreamlike vibe with its transition from the natural world to a more mechanical one, and the deaths in later stages are nonetheless still very gruesome. But the truth is, I no longer find it creepy.
It's still black in its visual sense, and even in terms of its ambience. But for me personally, it loses its eerie quality.
The figures who are inexplicably hunting you down at the start are nowhere to be seen, and as such there's less of a foreboding atmosphere. It's rather strange.
Where did everyone go?
It almost feels as though you venture into another setting, or indeed another video game entirely. I don't really have a problem with the lack of a clear narrative, but it kind of feels like these are concepts thrown together. The second half of the game isn't nearly as impactful for me from an atmospheric perspective, but in terms of gameplay, it's pretty solid. Later puzzles require you to toggle switches that change the gravity or apply magnetism to stick certain platforms in place. The gravity puzzles remind me of the original Castle of Illusion. And toggling the gravity also reminds me of the gravity mask in Crash Bandicoot 4. And also reminds me of how much I hated it. Many puzzles require forethought and expert timing to get right. If you don't, you're pretty much guaranteed to die. There's even a trophy awarded if you complete the game and die 5 times or less. That might sound manageable, but trust me, it's harder than it sounds. In all, the later puzzles are good, but they no longer have a haunting edge to them. There are no mysterious figures pottering about, and no giant spiders, or any other weird creepy crawlies for that matter. If you make it to the very end, the boy is finally reunited with his sister. How the hell is she alive?
Evidently, she's a hard egg to crack. Speaking of which...
Throughout the game, there are also some hidden eggs. And I don't mean Easter eggs, I mean literal eggs.
Oh, good. I was feeling rather hungry.
But not the edible kind.
Oh.
They appear to be insect eggs, and I don't know why we're collecting them.
I hope everyone likes eggs.
They often require you to venture off the main path, and collecting one rewards you with a trophy. Many of these are either hard to find or access, and often lead you into more danger. You know, as if it wasn't already easy enough to die here.
You might be collecting eggs, but the only thing getting scrambled in this game is you.
If you manage to find them all, a secret door opens some way into the game, and if you enter it, you're faced with the biggest challenge the game has to offer. This is genuinely horrible. Most of this secret area is a gauntlet that takes place in the pitch black. And when I say pitch black, I mean it. For most of this part, only the boy's eyes can be seen.
Hubba hubba.
If you thought you were in darkness before, that ain't got nothing on this darkness.
True darkness!
Now and again, there will be some hanging lights and sparks that will provide some help, or at least give you an opportunity to take a breather.
Well, it's nice to know the game doesn't leave you in the dark completely.
But there are also parts where you need to rely on sound effects to figure out where things are. Here, for example, you have to push a crate and jump on it at the right time to get the overhead creatures to remove the worm from your head. This is incredibly difficult to show you, but it is happening. Just trust me, bro. You also need to listen carefully to figure out how close you are to nearby hazards, and this is horrific. The worst part is this section, in which you need to listen out for the rising and falling buzzsaws. Oh, seriously, anyone who's deaf or hard of hearing will definitely struggle here. I think I held my breath for this entire section. Surviving this gauntlet leads to one final egg. And just when you think it's all over... Oh. Avoiding the gunfire, you eventually find an elevator.
Yeah, sure, I'll use the lift.
Yeah, there's literally nowhere else to go but up. And this has got to be the most awkward elevator ride I've ever experienced.
Yeah, I don't know actually. At least there's not some weird pink alien staring me in the face in complete silence. Yeah, I think I'll stick to the machine guns. Hey, do you think he's got soothing music playing in there while this is going on?
Anyway, once this is all over, you emerge a little further on in the game. Honestly, I've never been more relieved to be back in an area I can see. It's bloody depressing, but at least I can see it. So beautiful. Now, regular viewers of my channel will know that I don't care much for trophies, but the game offers you no other rewards, and I must say that the lack of a platinum trophy for this game is a little disappointing, especially considering what we just went through.
You know, it was at this point that I realised that this game has a few things in common with Mickey's Wild Adventure.
What?
No, really. Obviously the games are very different, but hear me out. I'm not taking the Mickey.
Well, I am a little bit. I'm admittedly being a bit tongue-in-cheek here, so please don't take this observation too seriously. Aside from the fact that they're both side-scrollers, since the opening level of Mickey's Wild Adventure is based on Steamboat Willie, most of the opening level is also in black and white. It's nowhere near as scary though, obviously. Unless you're scared of goats or something, I guess. Both games feature a giant spider. Obviously, it's just as terrifying.
Whoa, that's one big spider.
Kind of. And there's also a part during the Mad Doctor level that's so dark you can only see Mickey's eyes.
You look familiar.
Much like the secret area in this game, only it goes on for much longer and contains buzzsaws and machine guns. I was about to say that Disney wouldn't allow such a thing, but hey, there are indeed buzzsaws earlier in the level, so there are perhaps more similarities than you expected.
Bet you never saw that coming.
I might ruffle a few feathers here, particularly as this game has often been cited as one of the best ever made. I think it's a very good game, but to call it one of the best is perhaps overselling it, especially considering its short length. It's a very well-made puzzle game that's visually impressive and frankly terrifying in parts. It successfully adopts an incredibly dark and brooding atmosphere, but I can't help but feel that it could be more coherent. And I don't mean by making the story clearer. That doesn't really bother me. It's obvious you're looking for your sister, and that's really all you need to know. But the opening scenes are strangely some of the scariest, and it becomes far less scary as you enter the game's latter half. Largely due to the lack of people and the use of many high-tech contraptions to progress. The puzzles themselves are great, I just feel like the change in setting spoils the tone. It's very odd to me that the giant spider and the mysterious figures feature at the very beginning and nowhere else. It almost hints at some kind of conspiracy against you and your sister. But this is forgotten about after a certain point, as you eventually wind up in total solitude. In terms of gameplay, I like it, but it could be much more impactful for my liking. I don't have an issue with the game's narrative ambiguity, but some of its most intriguing and chilling elements are abandoned and never fully explored. Due to its trial and error nature, it's not for everyone, but there's no denying that it's a solid, well-constructed puzzle game that has a great deal of artistic merit. Despite some shortcomings, there is indeed light at the end of the tunnel.
Who knew a black and white game could be so colourful?
Hey everyone! This was a very last minute idea I had. As I've said already, I'm working on some larger projects, and also have a bunch of other commitments right now, so I didn't think I'd have time to make a Halloween video. While making this, the channel passed 9,000 subscribers, so once again, a massive thank you. One of the videos I'm working on is intended to be a 9K special, and it's probably going to be pretty big. There won't be any deleted scenes for Patreon this time around, simply because there is nothing worth sharing. Don't worry though, I'm not neglecting you. You will still have access to all future compilations. Rest assured, nothing has changed in that regard. However, if you're a channel member, I'll be making an early version of this review available. You see, I wound up redoing a large portion of this video and decided, hey, why let all that footage go to waste? So if you want an exclusive look at an early draft of this video, it'll be available for channel members soon. As always, a massive thanks to my patrons: Alex C, Heather McKnight, Upside Clown, Anthony Gallagher, 3Spooky5Me, Volico72, and Matthew Shaw. Thanks also to my free patrons: Samantha Thorngate, Mike Santana, Dinosaur Bites, Jennifer Erzan, Jeremy Miller, Yukanai Yuko, Alma Elma, Kira Flameheart, D Snuts, Hannah Kingdon, Michael Shields, GamerKid96, and Mood Faik. And an extra special thanks to my channel members: Mr. D, Reunion, Jeremy Miller, and 3Spooky5Me. Much appreciated, guys. Happy Halloween, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.
Hubba hubba.